Oh, good morning, everybody. Boy, that was a rough opening.
Good morning.
It stalled 6 times. It was that was pretty brutal. I was like, oof.
I was like, all right, cool, I guess. For a second there, I thought it was my fault because I was like, I clicked on something and I'm like, did I do that? And then it happened again when I clicked on the my browser again, and I was like, okay, am I causing this? And then it happened the third time, and I'm like, maybe I am. And then I didn't do anything, and it did it again, and I was like, okay, it's really just a coincidence.
Right. So we had an interesting coincidence yesterday. My buddy Troy gave me a text about something he had seen in a Star Trek episode, and I thought he was referring to the new episode of Lower Decks. Mm-hmm. And so I responded to him out of Lower Decks. Well, it was an Easter egg in Lower Decks referencing an episode of Next Generation, and he hadn't seen the episode of Lower Decks. He had seen the Next Generation episode. And so I thought and it was just pure coincidence that BBC America had shown the episode that day that Lower Decks had made the Easter egg to. And it was complete coincidence. And so we've been sitting there marveling over that one for a while because it was a throwaway reference, but Lower Decks has been doing a lot of that. It's been a lot of fun. So
yeah, we haven't seen Lower Decks at all yet.
I think Bill will like it. I mean, so far the response has been pretty positive.
I mean, the animation and everything looks like it's something that we would enjoy, but right now Bill is, we have to hold off because if it's on CBS streaming or something along those lines, we can't exactly see it right now. So,
right. Well, it would have to also be one of those he'd have to dedicate time because if you haven't seen Picard or Discovery, he's going to have to watch all of that.
We've seen Picard. We only saw the first episode of Discovery.
Yeah. Because see, Trekkies have to watch even the bad stuff. Even if we don't like it, we still have to watch it. It's required by law. The Great Bird of the Galaxy ordains this. So, it's one of those.
It's not nice to talk about the Enterprise series about that.
Yeah. So, anyway, because like even the bad shows I've watched a couple of times, 3 times, maybe 5.
Yes. I am very familiar with this. Next Generation sometimes pops on, pops off.
And you're like, well, I watched that episode. And some of them you're like, so Dr. Crusher is in love with a ghost. Let's be straight about this, okay?
Yeah.
So,
and where's William Crusher during this entire time?
Right. So we don't know where Will went, but that's, So, Wesley. Shut up, Wesley. Okay. So, we're going to do our show today on what is our battle plan. And the last time you and I got together was literally like a month ago.
Well, yes, and I have to apologize to people because it was like I was alluding that I was going to be back the following week, and then
you have a very justifiable reason, though.
Yeah. So the home study process for my adoption occurred, and I had 2 meetings that first week, and then for the past 2 weeks after that, I had meetings every Friday. And one of them, I could have made it. However, I was scrambling to clean my house. Oh, hello.
Yep, he's decided to attack everything. So
hello, George. I'll hug him and squeeze him and call him George.
That's totally. But look at his little paws. He's polydactyl.
Oh, he's a Hemingway?
Yeah. He's got 5 fingers and 1 little back paw.
Aww.
So the last part of his name is Von Rugen.
Von Rugen?
Yep. And yeah, he does this a lot.
Hello, Luna.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm adopting a kid. You adopted a kitten, and you're already getting licks.
Yeah, I'm already getting licks. This one licks faces. That's what he does. Good morning, Luna. So I once had a black cat named Luna, which was most definitely a Sailor Moon reference. And so,
I mean, if she had a little white patch on the middle of her forehead,
yeah, if I had known that my second cat was going to have a little white patch in the middle of her forehead, I probably would have named the second cat Luna. But that was the first cat I had ever gotten, and so, since it was my first cat and the cat was all black, I usually get all black cats because black cats are usually abused and mistreated. And so I tend to do that for rescue purposes. But George, it wasn't actually. Yeah, I know. Okay. Yeah, you're very adorable. Oh, gosh. With George's case, he just was the spunkiest one in the litter. And it just happened to be that he was black. We wanted a kitten because we've got a very our existing cat is extremely scared, and yeah, you're very cute.
I actually recently watched this. These people, it's an Egyptian Egyptologist, basically is shown the mummy, and she gives reviews on what's actually accurate and what's fake.
Right.
And she revealed that Egyptians, as much as we think that like they actually like revere cats and everything, they never named any cat. They basically called them the initial, like basically, the word meow.
Right. I would call you Meow if I thought that would help any.
Or basically, the word for kitty sounded like meow.
Right.
So that's what they would call them. But if they had a dog in the house, the dog had a proper human name.
See, George, consider yourself lucky. Just consider yourself lucky. No. You've got a dog's name, apparently. Who knew? You're into licking and biting now. Yeah, I mean, okay, you can go now. You can go wander away and do your thing. Luna's saying that she was considering a black cat, but she told the shelter she would take anybody they wanted, so they gave her a cat that didn't get along with other cats. Our cat doesn't get along with other cats, but our cat doesn't get along with people. Our cat doesn't get along with our kids. And
the older cat is, I mean, probably at the age where that cat, the older cat, will probably temper the baby like kitten.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's why we got a kitten this time. We had an older cat who was 1 when we got him, and she just wouldn't acclimate to him. So we thought if we got one that was 3 months, that's young enough that she can still bat him on the head and sort of declare dominance and things like that. And hopefully they'll acclimate. I don't expect them to like each other, but I'm hoping that there will be at least a truce. With our previous cat, Dove, she just ended up under the bed all the time, and then she ended up pooping under there because she wouldn't come out for the litter box and stuff. Do you want back in my lap? Is that what this is all about?
You got a lapper.
Yeah, I got a lapper and a licker, but apparently he wanted back in the lap. Okay. Now he's purring a lot. That's a lot of purring. You're a loud purr. But the other thing is that Dove is not a friendly cat. Anybody visits, she disappears. And I really wanted, I want somebody who will be the visiting committee, part of the cruise director, if you will. And that's what George is definitely doing. He's very cruise directory. So I wanted a cat that would, Pepper comes over and George jumps in Pepper's lap or whatever, because, hi, this is my job. I'm supposed to be the cruise director here. Welcome aboard, Yeah.
I mean, most of the black cats that are male that I've actually owned in the past, they're usually more friendlier than the female black cats that I've had.
Yeah.
So I haven't had very many. I've only had, I had Salem.
Right.
And Salem basically would rub all over him, but I was usually the only male he trusted completely.
Right.
Any other male he would attack.
I don't know what George is after, but he's after something. He's after being on the table. That's what you're after. Okay. Well, this is definitely going to have to be something we'll talk about. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a thing. I don't know if it's related to the color of the cat. Might be related to the breed. But
well, Salem was a mix. He was a street cat that we just kind of acquired. He looked like a tuxedo, but had a build of a Siamese.
Mm-hmm.
But like he acted like a domestic house cat. Like he had a really sweet demeanor. So we know he was a mutt,
Right.
because he actually had kittens with another one of our cats. And they popped out 2 Siamese kittens.
Right.
Like they had full-on Siamese looks. Both had blue eyes. Unfortunately, one passed away and the other one survived. But
Right.
their fur pattern even occurred just like a normal Siamese, where they're born white and the ears and the tail and the paws all turn black as they aged. So.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that George has the Siamese nose, but that's about it. He's got coarse fur. Like his fur is very, very coarse. And I had two black cats together at the same time, Luna and Suki. And Luna was very soft furred and Suki was very coarse furred, which is the only way you could tell them both apart because they lived both together. I mean, if you lived here long enough, you'd be able to tell them apart, but they used to play tricks on people. One would walk out of the room and the other would walk into the room from another direction. And you'd think that the cat teleported somehow because you don't know how the cat did that because people wouldn't.
Oh,
they were very.
They can't hear us.
The what?
Yokel is the best says they can't hear us.
That's interesting.
And it's coming from.
Hello?
Twitch.
Hello?
Hi. They can hear you. That we can hear us. They can hear us now. Okay.
Okay.
Someone else is now. Okay. So. Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's.
Yeah, they're still not able to hear us.
Don't look at his hair. What's with my hair?
What? What do you mean? I showered this morning. My hair's fine.
Your hair looks fine.
Huh?
Well, we don't know if you can.
So Luna can hear us on Facebook. Twitch can't hear us, apparently.
I don't know why Twitch can't hear us. Yeah, which one of us is here? You know what? I'll check. Both are atrocious. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I'm not saying that person's handle right in my head, I think.
I don't know either. So.
Can you put a Blackie on screen?
Well, I did have a cat for a while, but he walked away. So.
Okay.
I had a black cat for a while, but he was.
So, do you know Yokel is the best?
He's I don't know these guys. It does look like hair. My hair turned gray when I was 28. I had one of those early gray hair things. It was worse for. Oh, I see. We've got a thing going on.
Oh.
It looks like we got a thing going on here. So I don't know what's going on over there in the stream, the room there. This is the most chatting I've ever had from Twitch, though. Also,
So
apparently,
yeah, they just said yes, they got a thing going on.
okay, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
That you know, that's a thing. They can do the thing. And that's I don't know what that means, but that's all right. So, this is also my first time. Yeah, okay. See, there's a thing. So we definitely have a thing going on. I don't know. I just work here. I also am broadcasting a Periscope today, which is the first time that I've ever done Periscope in Twitter. You look like a friend of theirs. Weird. Okay, so we'll just continue on. They can chat. I'm not going to bring that in. So we're good. They can have their little discussion, and we can.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe
not
they can.
comfortable with this chat.
Yeah, I know. We're being trolled a little in Twitch.
Yeah.
Not like I'm surprised, but that's okay. Yeah, okay, there we go. So now we're definitely getting trolled over there.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that I don't know where Brent is. If Brent was over there on Twitch, this would be a different story. So, but that's a thing. It's all right. So tell me about where are we here? What do we got going on? I'm gonna check my channel real quick. Look, we can hear me. So I am broadcasting and I can hear myself on Twitch.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I find it interesting that. Hang on, I'm distracting. I can't hear myself. I wish there was a way I could mute me.
Good point, Luna.
Oh no! I've got three peppers now. This is not good. I've got three peppers now. I got to figure out how to. I'm gonna. If I can pop out the player, maybe that'll work.
Just gonna.
That's how you do it. I got it. Got it under control. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm super uncomfortable right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
the best part about this whole thing is I don't have to actually put up with this. Right?
No.
Just switch to mod view here. Oh, come on, but it's still back. There we go. I can at least mute it on this one.
Hey, Brent. We're having some.
So, I've never actually had to mute people before, and this is kind of a fascinating new thing. But it does look like we've got like a couple of other people that's in here too.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me because now I can get into this chat and we can boot people. That's kind of fascinating.
I can't do anything. I just watch.
Yeah, we're having some trolling issues. So we're over on Twitch and trolling. Hey, Brent, would you be a moderator?
Yeah, Can
I make you a moderator? How do I do that?
Look.
Let's see here. Because, if we do this. Oh, yeah. What I can do, though, is watch this. Bork. And Bork. There we go. Yeah, over on Twitch. It's all right. I timed them out for 10 minutes. We'll see what happens here.
He said no clue, but I just
Well,
want to say,
he's usually with me on Twitch, so
yeah.
He comes in over on Twitch, and so it's one of those things. They're still here, and I timed them out. So we'll see what happens. If they come back in and they're still problem children in 10 minutes, then I'll ban them. And that seems like a thing. So, but I am fascinated because now I'm on the moderator tools over here. I am very fascinated that, because see, I can go in and delete some of these messages too. Hello, my friend. Welcome to this part of the chat room. I'm sorry for sidelining the show here. I'm just trying to figure out.
Hey, no, it's fine. Thank you. Some of those comments did not reflect on how I feel personally, so
No.
I was very
well. You noticed that I didn't even bring them up to the stream.
Yeah, no, I didn't repeat them because I just didn't want to.
Yep, it's all good.
Yeah.
Why did I? Huh. Okay. How do
Technology fixes by Guy.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. It's like, let's see here. Can I do channel actions? I'm looking at all of the things here.
Mm-hmm.
Mod. You are now a mod. Thank you, my friend. So I will let him deal with folks.
So let's get into why we're actually here today.
Yes,
and that is the artist check-in.
It is time for us to check in as artists.
Yeah.
So the next check-in would be the 27th for us, right? Let me double check that.
It should be, yeah.
Okay. So Pepper, my friend, you had a page you were doing.
Yes, I'm actually halfway through the entire, actually a little over halfway through the comic in flatting, which is way more than I actually promised.
That's fair.
I think, what is it, like this past weekend, I just, last week, they put a halt on some of the things I was doing. So I needed to fill the void, and I basically did it. I tried to work on other things, but it was coming up with new things, or basically trying to see things that haven't been drawn yet has been a little bit of an issue for me. I've been suffering a little bit of an art block,
right?
Per se. So I just try to focus on something that was already done.
For you, so I kind of get that.
Huh?
Life's been kind of complicated for you, so I kind of get that.
Yeah, so I know my art block is being caused by mental stuff going on, the adoption process, there's a lot of things going on. I'm being judged constantly by people that, they're trying to get to know me, but really fast. That sort of. But yeah, I got that done. Still working on MetaZoo. If anyone hasn't donated to the Kickstarter, I believe they are still working on stretch goals. So go over to.
Can we find that for your links?
The link is actually one of the links in my link tree. So if you have a copy of my link tree from my Instagram bio, you can actually go directly there. In Instagram. I hate to tell folks, but I have deactivated my Facebook account as well because of you saw some of the
moderator review is nice. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I saw what Brent put there. Yeah, the moderator view is nice. Yes, but
hey,
yeah, I was tired of getting the similar comments, or basically the posts that were similar to what the people in the thing were talking about, and I was done. So I'm not on Facebook at the moment. I'm taking a break from Facebook. So mainly on Instagram and Twitter at this point.
Do you want me to put your links up? Let's put your links up.
Yeah.
Let's put there we go.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter's a little bit different, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean,
there are a lot of artists actually leaving Facebook right now.
Facebook. I mean, I just haven't gone back to it. I haven't gone back to the. Interestingly, speaking of that particular thing, by the way, that's what Brent was saying. Is there are several artists that have left Facebook, and not the least of which is Raph as well, who now it's very difficult to get a hold of him because as annoying as Facebook is,
he straight up deleted his Facebook. There's a big difference.
He wiped it out.
There's a big difference from what I've done, which is just deactive my pages, my artist page and everything is still on Facebook. I'm just not moderating it. No one's moderating it.
Nobody's. That's what's happening to me.
Posts.
I have no idea what's happened. I walked away from Facebook a little over a month ago, which, by the way, has been one of the healthiest things I have ever done.
Yeah,
because I get so it's so depressing.
Well, for me, it was triggering. Like for some weird reason, I would go on Facebook, and then afterwards, I was just like a little bit saltier. I was a bit more angry.
Right.
Even I'm married to someone who basically is like, why are you mad at me? And I wasn't mad at them, but I was just mad. And like,
well, I was snapping at my wife too. I mean, that was, and my kid. And I was getting irritable, but I think the moment for me was the moment when I said, why am I even bothering to draw? Why am I bothering to do art? I should just build a machine gun nest on my roof and just man it. And I was like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
I gotta walk away.
And I'm not trying to like disrespect my friends and family who are still using it. I really am not. I'm just trying to basically explain like, when you have friends who are very open-minded and then you have like that one friend that constantly is posting things that are not necessarily something you want to see every day. And then on top of that, you have the great debate that's still going on in our country. And, I'm on a side of it that basically there's a lot of people posting against it. And it's just like, it makes me angry. It makes me frustrated that we're still at these points. And it was just, I was tired of looking at it. I was tired, everyone's like, well, get out there and do something. And I'm just like, well, I have underlying health issues. I cannot actually go to those points. I can't do that because I just don't want to risk my health. But I will try to support as much as I can. And they're like, well, that's kind of a cop-out. But, I mean, let me be realistic. I will support...
You're now running around like an insane cat. I have insane cat mode.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's
He just ran over my feet.
I'm just hoping that at the end of the day, like we can actually all come to an agreement and we have this childlike behavior that's going on Facebook, and some of it is actually happening other social media platforms as well. So, I mean,
it's interesting though with the other social media platforms. For example, I can get Reddit calmed down so that my Reddit is.
Thank you, Luna.
But yeah, that isn't a cop-out. I agree. So it's interesting that I actually screenshotted this from Reddit saying that there's Facebook is a global threat to public health. Super spreaders of health misinformation have no barriers to going viral on Facebook. But it's not just that. I think on an upper level, I feel like my blood pressure is higher. I'm stressed out more. I feel anxious.
I was waking up in the morning and I had to like actually like look at Facebook. Like that's my first reaction. And like
mine too.
And honestly, I'm like, and I'm seeing like Luna's comment, and I'm just like, yeah, main sources of socialization. But if you're not really socializing on it, and you're like just breezing through other people's comments, and you don't feel like you can comment because you're not in a good point in your headspace, and you're like looking at that. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, Yeah, I started doing the unwatched people there as well, Luna, and I will be realistic. I got to the point where in June I unfollowed. I basically did the temporary snoozing of people. All my friends on my Facebook stuff, I just basically snoozed every single person, and I walked away for 30 days. My life was less complicated. I went back, and it was just. I got angrier again, and so I decided to do it again.
I'm not laughing at you. George is attacking my hand.
Okay. Claws or mouth?
No. He just batted at me. He actually seems to be really good with claws.
Oh, okay, cool. That's actually usually a good sign for a cat.
Yeah, it is. If they attack with just batting with their paws without their claws out, they're doing good.
Yeah.
I agree. It's interesting because trolls were the topic of discussion last night on Geek Tank as well. And we were talking a little bit about trolling and people because somebody trolled us, trolled our show, and they trolled me and said that they owned the copyright to my opening credits. That the video was, and you just watched my opening credits. It's a whole bunch of video of me drawing. So I'm like, I don't know if I stole that from someone else. I don't know how you could even think that I stole that from somebody else because it's a video of me. So unless you secretly filmed me somehow, and I don't know how that could possibly have happened. So anyway, I was talking about, and apparently people are just trolling. Good morning, Donald.
Yes.
Good to see you.
I just want to reiterate, Luna. I didn't take you blaming me. Like, I'll be completely honest. I was just trying to explain like where my headspace was at. Sorry if it seemed like I was attacking. It's really not. Like, I was trying to be respectful. I guess I went a little bit overboard. I'm sorry.
No, you were doing fine. You did just fine. Don't worry about it. And no need to apologize. You're fine. No, actually, and that was the question I had too. Was we're in the middle of COVID, and really you and I used to get together on like Tuesdays and draw at the Starbucks, and we can't do that. And we can't do any of those things anymore. I can't, so that was my only source of it. And what I did was this. I've built an Instagram where I only follow artists.
Yep.
And that's it. So what I can do, what I've been doing is I've been switching over to Instagram. And now, I've been interacting with other artists. I've been talking to people, but it's only been business. We've only been talking art, and that's it. And nobody's talking politics, and I'm not getting into it. And it's okay, Luna. You're doing just fine.
No, thank you, Luna.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
So anyway, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I walked away from Facebook. I will come back to Facebook and visit, but I think I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to check in on Facebook once a month or once a week. Or something like that. Yeah. I know I had to go into Facebook a couple of days back because I had to do that. I had to do a live broadcast and fire it off from Facebook for a client. And I have control of their page. And so I didn't want to, I couldn't do it through Restream. That's the best part about Restream is this is a Restream's website. So I'm not touching Facebook, even though I'm broadcasting to Facebook.
Yeah.
And it keeps me out of this. It keeps me out of the fight. Twitter is also a place where I'll get into fights. And I know and I've got to be careful there too. So that's one of the reasons why I'm glad to have Periscope. Because now I'm broadcasting to Periscope. I can still broadcast to Twitter, and I can still see information when people respond, but I can't. Yeah. I can't see. I don't have to get into the fights.
Yeah.
And my Twitter, sadly, is not cultivated like my Instagram is. I started following all the Star Trek actors, and I started following all of that stuff on Twitter, and they're very politically charged right now. And everybody's
Twitter is a kind of like a minefield at certain times. Luckily, I have, because I'm part of the LGBT community, a lot of my artists that I follow on that are part of the LGBT community. So a lot of the things that I align with are in my feed. So like Twitter's a little bit simpler for me to go through. And everyone's like, but they have this and this. And I was like, I don't follow these people.
Mm-hmm.
And someone's like, oh, but like, you're barely on it. And you only post when you post to Instagram. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want. Like, I don't want, like, if you're going to go to Instagram and see my stuff and you're going to make a comment, I'm going to just delete the comment.
Right.
That's what it's going to do. But like the thing is if you go to my Twitter and you do the same thing, I'm going to try to take the same action. Like,
right.
I don't put up with that stuff very well, and I'm very rude when someone leaves like a comment like that to them if they try to reach out again with something similar. And it's nothing against them. It's just their views are just too like. No, they're not going to fit in my life, and I'm not going to try to justify having them in my life if they're going to make those types of comments.
I agree.
I agree. You know, and I'm friends with a lot of different people.
Stuff that can go on. I've been posting to Reddit under r/world building some of the stuff that I've been doing for Bellatrix Rising, and I came up with this language setup.
I did see the post on that. Like you posted that on Instagram, so I believe I saw that.
And the responses on r/world building have been, this looks like just like you replaced all the letters in the keyboard. I'm like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I did. Well, that's not a language. And I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a language in a comic book so that all of the signs on street signs and things like that all look consistent.
Yeah. So
it's not supposed to be. Yeah, this isn't the Silmarillion. I'm not inventing a new language. So, it's sort of.
I agree with Donald's comment.
Yeah, I know,
man.
Well, and that's the thing. So, as an artist, one of the things that I really think is my job in this world is to try to be part of the positive in the world. I mean, you know, we've got all the politics and all of these civil rights fights and things like that going on. That's all negative. Not that it's not going to have a positive outcome, but it's so negative out there that I feel like it's my job to try to inject positivity. And that was what was happening with Facebook, was that I was spending so much time arguing on Facebook and getting into fights and things like that, that it was bringing me down. I haven't been able to restart my comic strip because there's nothing funny. I haven't found anything funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I need to back off. And and I have recently gotten a whole bunch more, which brings me back to the 1,500 words a night thing.
Yeah, that was one of your goals.
That was my goal. I actually have been writing 1,500 words a night. For the most part, when somebody went to bed on time, I'm not saying, but I'm aiming that one at my 10-year-old, who he needs to go to bed. If he doesn't go to bed, he sits here and like sits on my shoulder and then says, "You misspelled that word. You misspelled that word." I'm like, they underline in red. That's how I can tell I misspelled it. But it's, for me, when I write the idea is more important than the spelling. Yeah. So I'll write the whole sentence out and then I'll go back and correct spelling errors. But if I correct spelling errors while writing, then I'll forget what the end of the sentence was supposed to be. And I end up in trouble. So
I have the opposite problem. In my head, I get to the end of my sentences before I even finish the middle of my sentence.
So you crunch them together?
Yeah.
And they don't make sense?
So in high school, that was like a really fun thing to try to overcome, because a lot of people are like, what does that mean? And I was like, I write on how I talk.
Right.
And if you hear me talk enough, like if you get to know me and I'm not like in a platform like where we're at right now, when we used to meet up every Tuesday, there was times where I would just like sputter on almost an entire paragraph in one breath.
Yeah, which is all right. So I actually have been designing. There's a bug, but it's a flying bug. So, okay. I have been designing something for my patrons, which I actually am pretty excited about. So the initial concept behind this was that I was going to write backstory for all of my various characters, and I was going to write it out as prose. If nothing else, just to follow through in my head what built the character, right? And also to get me back into the swing of writing. Yeah. And so I started writing backstory, and it became an actual like story. It became there was actually a beginning, a middle, and end. All of the pieces were together. It actually started to come out like a real story. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, and then I'm going to dole that out once I've edited it a little bit at a time to my patrons on Patreon, which I think would be a good. I've been trying to come up. I'm not good at the Patreon thing. I'm really bad at it. So I had to think up. I don't think that way, so I figure if I do that, then being a patron is great because it doesn't give you spoilers to the comic, but it'll give you the backstory behind all these characters, which build into the comic. Yeah. And then when you read the comic, it has filler, so to speak. So that's one of the things that I've been doing, but this has been a fascinating thing. There's a Star Trek story that my character from the Tamerlane story had adapted into that character. And I moved her over. When I moved her over to the new story, I took the backstory too, but then I was like, well, I can't really bring up Tarsus 4 now that can't exist. That's a Star Trek story. So how do I make it work? And as I evolved out making the same moment happen so that the character could have the same pathos, I ended up with this really diverse, interesting backstory on my version of Tarsus 4. Yeah. And so it became a fascinating thing. So I started writing it out. And once I did, it was a pretty interesting story. So I've been I'm now at about 3,700 words in this story, and I'm still rolling. And I just started it this week. So it's, 3,700 words, considering the fact that I've lost a couple of my nights, to just various other things. That's not bad.
Yeah, no, that's actually good. Compared to our last check-in, that's very good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting in words and things like that. That's good. It also helps influence the larger story. I was actually just talking to my kid about story writing and how you should have an arc that comes to a reasonable end, and you probably shouldn't just start writing chapter 1 and then chapter 2 and then chapter 3. You should outline first. And I said, that's one of the reasons why I'm spending so much time on the master document, which has all 50 books or all 50 issues all
Yeah.
figured out. Because I want to make sure that when I get to issue 50, I haven't painted myself into a corner.
I mean,
You know.
you technically what you're doing is kind of pulling a Tolkien, but not to the extent that he went.
Right.
Silmarillion and all of that stuff.
Right. Well, and the Silmarillion is awesome. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's some serious awesomeness to J.R.R. Tolkien and what he wrote for all of the Lord of the Rings series, and how The Hobbit fits in and both pieces fit together and stuff like that. It is pretty incredible. But yeah, Donald's saying readers like a book or character love to find out if they like the book or character. They'll love to find out any backstories that developed, e.g. Han Solo. So that's an interesting thing.
I'll be realistic. There are some characters that I actually don't. I like them, but I don't want to know their backstory because I like them for the role that they're in. And then there's others where I want to hear the backstory.
It's interesting. Luna just echoed you exactly. As long as you don't end up with the George R.R. Martin effect and spending so much time in the backstory that you never finish the last few books. We're not mentioning any names, George. Not George.
I mean, I'll be like, I have made like some elaborate backstories for characters that I've only used like twice in a story, like in two parts of a story, and that's about it. There are some characters that I barely make a backstory, so you love and hate the Silmarillion, but you read it twice,
right? Well,
okay.
I mean, I love and hate Spock's brain, but I've seen it 50 times. I mean, you know, if you're into something, that's why I was saying, Bill's gonna have to like watch Discovery because it's in our blood.
Well, I want to throw this out there though, that the Lord of the Rings movie, like the trilogy movie that they made, they include parts of the Silmarillion in it.
Yeah. And
a lot of people don't realize that because there's some scenes that they edit out, but you can, like, if you get like the ultra, like if you get a hold of that ultra box set, which has like all the extras and stuff on it, you can see them like alternative scenes or like basically scenes that didn't make the cut and stuff. And some of the scenes actually reflect the Silmarillion rather than the book. And it's really fascinating to see them because it makes a whole lot of sense.
Right.
It does.
Like, story building, world building is one of my favorite pieces of this, though, as well. So I agree with Luna, though. I can't spend forever on it. And I felt like Bellatrix Rising's world building was my COVID job. You know, while we're all locked up and we can't go anywhere and I can't do anything, I was going to world build. And at first I thought this was only going to last, 8 months or so or whatever, but now it's looking like it's going to last longer.
There's some people that are saying we may have another year of this.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then I'll come out of this, with a wonderfully well-built world. But on the same token, my patrons can start reading ahead of time before the comic rolls out and get kind of acquainted. My son and my dad are reading The Education of Little Tree to each other, and it sparked this thought process of writing in first person and sort of writing the history. Kind of like when I was 5, we moved to this colony and I didn't like the colony and yada 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 because I was 5 and that kind of stuff.
You're breaking up, guy.
I am not breaking up.
No, you're kind of like, you just sounded like a robot beeping.
I've got one bar here on network connection. Um,
You sound better there. Yeah, Donald, I completely agree with you. There are some major flaws in that movie. All of them.
I'm back.
You're back.
Oh,
Oh, I'm back. Okay.
I think it even held the show. I think we're not. I don't even think the show died.
No, basically it said I was backstage and I was like, "Oh, okay," but it was still rolling. And then before you came back, all of a sudden like bam, and then all the chats went away and everything, and now everything's back.
Oh, look, we're back. Look, but that's actually a good thing to know. StreamYard drops you.
Yeah.
StreamYard drops the show, and this held the show together, which is great because, and I'm going to give them good feedback for this because, yeah, it's. If we all drop, then everybody has to rejoin the stream, and you lose a whole bunch of viewers when you do that.
Yeah. Well,
So
and I'm just
Twitch
going
held it, and Facebook held it. Looks like.
I'm going to respond to Donald real quick, and I'm like, because he's mentioning Pippin and Meriadoc, and I'm just like, those were my favorite characters when reading those books, and I honestly, I did not like the fact that they put Samwise Gamgee. I know he had an important role, but like, and I love Sean Astin as an actor. I don't, that wasn't what I wanted to see.
I love the fact that Donald's saying without Tom Bombadil, the Ring Quest fails, which of course is so funny because so many people adversely comment about Tom Bombadil. And okay, so I read Lord of the Rings series when I was like 17. And so I hated Tom Bombadil because I was 17, not because of anything else, simply because I was 17. And, you know, you hate everything when you're 17. So that's the way of the world. But now, actually, I kind of see where Donald's coming from. You know, because he does sort of spark the quest a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? And so I kind of follow. I follow there.
Yeah. I mean, he is right. Without Tom, you wouldn't have that quest. Like, go right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
you just wouldn't. And the thing is a lot of people don't realize it's like the book is a book, and there's a book for a reason because it's a source material. And I'm sorry, the movies are good. The book is a bit better for me. I was raised in a house.
It's all good. I'm getting my kid into Tolkien via the movies.
Yeah.
And that's where we are with that. And that's just simply because it's the good place to start with the movies. Is to start with the movies. You know, it's like he doesn't have the patience to go through all the books just yet.
Well, see, my mom had us watch the original Hobbit cartoon video and the Lord of the Rings cartoon. And if anyone's actually seen these, you would understand that, like, watching them, like, in the 80s is, like, kind of like one of those things of when you're a kid, you may not necessarily understand it, but, like, then you had to read the book in high school for
to
me.
Get all of that.
And basically, I breezed through The Hobbit pretty quickly because of that movie, but then I also realized, like, the movie that I'm talking about is not the same at all.
Right. Right. As a side note for all of you, the people who made the Hobbit animated series also were the people who worked on Heavy Metal, the animated movie. Same group.
The
which, by the way,
cartoon
ended up being
Naoki.
part of Don Bluth Studios at some point down the road, and so there's always that.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you have an animator on here. It's like, oh, guess whose studio got involved in that one?
It's kind of like when people find out that Hayao Miyazaki is actually the one that did the sequence of the bull being pushed into the ocean in The Last Unicorn.
Yep.
And like when people find that out, they're like, "Wait, what do you mean? Like, really?" And you have to sit there and reiterate, yes, that is actually his work. Like
Yep.
you have seen
you can
Hayao
see it.
Miyazaki's
It
before.
absolutely feels like it.
Yeah. But also at the same time, like he did a lot of work on other films that a lot of people don't realize before his own studio was actually built.
Mm-hmm.
That
Before
he worked
Ghibli.
on. And yeah,
Before Ghibli, they were working on, and it was interesting. I'm actually that's one thing that I think I really like about the change in culture. Back in the 80s and the 70s, we farmed out our animation to the Japanese studios, and they were just never mentioned. We just, and it's like now it's respected.
yeah,
You know, Japanese anime is respected, and so the studios now, the surf is amazing in The Last
Yeah.
Unicorn.
yeah,
A lot of things. The Last Unicorn's one of those highly underrated movies. Nobody knows that it exists except those of us that know that it exists.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah. So I just want to reiterate, my grandmother's favorite mythical creature. Granted, my grandmother I'm talking about is 100% Irish,
Right?
and her favorite mythical creature is a unicorn. When Last Unicorn came out, my grandfather and grandmother got a actual movie poster, like the ones that they got in like theaters, and had it placed for a very long time. So I always grew up with like this large Last Unicorn poster in the kids area where we all played. Like,
Yeah.
and every single one of us knew that we could not touch that poster. We could not
Right.
break that poster.
Do
You
not
know,
look at the poster.
Yeah.
Not wrong, anyway.
Yeah.
You can glance, but only from the side of your eyes.
Yeah, and so when it came out like on VHS, like we used to watch that non-stop at her house, and then the VHS broke, obviously, because that's the flaw of VHSs, and they never replaced it, and so now as an adult, I have it,
Right?
and it's one of those movies. It's kind of like a lot of the movies that we've been talking about, like with a whole bunch of Luna, that is definitely on point. Yeah.
I find it, and then of course Brent's commenting that Spock singing the Hobbit song is pretty good.
Dude, that
What he really means is
watched
there was once Leonard Nimoy saying Bilbo Baggins, and
yeah, I have
that is-
actually watched that 5 times, Donald.
yeah, I mean, really, I love it so much, and it's one of those you admit to loving it, and then you're like, I feel so bad for admitting to loving this.
Well, I mean,
But it's like William Shatner. Anything William Shatner sings, right? I mean, he doesn't sing; he talks. He just talks in rhythm. He doesn't even rap.
yeah, yeah. He tries to pull a Johnny Cash.
Right? Well, that's
And
what I
it
think. That's
doesn't
what he
sound
thinks
like
is what
Johnny
he's
Cash.
supposed to be. And he's just not the Man in Black. So there's that.
Yeah.
There's just
But,
that.
I mean, that's awesome, Donald. Like, I love hearing about the fact that people used to go to conventions and dress up for them, and the fact that your aunt would go as a unicorn in human form. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, Luna's talking about the IP mess up, and there is. I mean, that's one of those things that made that.
That's why I
I
said,
think-
yeah,
She's absolutely right. That's
Yeah.
what put that movie into the underground.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a copy of it, but it was one of the first movies that I ever got an MP4 of because you couldn't buy it. You couldn't find it anywhere. You couldn't get it anywhere. You couldn't get its soundtrack. So I was so excited to get the MP3s of that soundtrack and then the MP4 of the movie because I'm an animation guy. You know, animation is like a big deal for me. And that was a movie that I remember from the early 80s watching. And then it just vanished. And I remember that because you guys are absolutely...
Yes, I have actually seen that embroidery piece. I don't need to go and see it on DeviantArt. I have seen that. It is amazing. Have you seen the embroidery piece of the last unicorn?
Link. So she probably didn't do the right link. She might give me the right link here in a sec. We'll see.
Well, that's the artist that did it. So
yeah, well, she might. I think she's saying she did in the spirit of that person, because Luna does a lot of like the thing I'm noticing about Luna as an artist is she does a lot of physical stuff, like
Oh, I see it. Okay. Yeah, Luna, I see it right here, the bull and the unicorn. That came out awesome as well. Like I've seen
she's a physical artist. I like that.
Things going on online, and I always like seeing them. Yeah. I really do like them.
That works. So we went off to do that there.
Hold on. Yep. So there it is. Yeah, that is an awesome piece. I really do like on how it came out, Luna.
Yeah, I just that's one of the things that I really admire about Luna's work is that she does everything in a physical realm, like her tables and embroidery, and that's kind of cool. I'm not a very physical realm person. Everything I do is very digital. Like Brent saying that. Don't watch and drive, Donald. Okay, we'll see you in a bit.
See ya.
You and I got really distracted by the trolls right off the bat. I noticed because we are nowhere on rails.
It threw off our entire show, and you know what though, I'm happy that they didn't come back. So
yeah, me too. I paused them for 10 minutes and then they never returned. Although I did notice that Brent put slow mode on in the room there, and I completely agree with that. That'll help. That'll help us if we ever get any of those like bulk spammers in there.
To be realistic, just by one of the name handles on one of them.
They weren't our kind of people. I could tell already. they weren't our style.
Yeah.
No, Luna's all happy that I called her a physical artist, but she is. She's everything she does is like tangible.
What I've heard, like what I've seen and everything, you do have a lot of physical art. So I do actually like back what Guy said. You have a lot of physical art, and you are a physical artist.
I think it's great.
You know, it's really weird. It's like I get comments that throw me off all the time. So trust me, like when you find a good comment, take it. You know, it's great.
And
run with it.
Yeah. So
I
find it interesting though that Brent enabled slow mode, but I'm not seeing that on my channel actions. I mean, it says it. It said he did it, but I'm not seeing it on channel actions. So I don't think this little bottom panel updated. So, you have it turned off right now. Well, that's why. Now it's on. Oh, and it updated. Okay. Yeah. I'm all excited now.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And the only thing is, Brent, does it slow you down? If it slows you down, then you can turn it off.
Yeah.
Because
Thank you, Brent, for
My
moderating.
interview.
That's what I'm. That's what I would say. Yes. I thank you for moderating Twitch.
Yes. So much thank you. Well, I hate to say this, but I don't have enough of a following. I hadn't up until today had enough reach to actually get trolls. I mean, I have met everybody that's on here, either at a convention or someplace. And so up until now, I did have one person from Korea a couple of weeks back. And that was really cool because they were very interactive and they helped me with a drawing I was working on, and they were very sweet. And that was a complete unknown. Their name was even Korean. So since I don't,
Since you
oh yeah, Luna, you should probably check in to see where you are. Where are you the last time we checked in with you, Luna, you were working on a table, and I don't know what happened to the table. That was June.
Yeah.
I hope we've gotten further along.
Has the table been finished?
So while we wait for Luna to respond, so you said you've gotten flatting done for a lot. What's your plan for the next week?
I'm going to try to. So I still have some more work that's coming from MetaZoo. I have to get a rhythm down that suits a little bit better. Right now I have 2 projects that I need to start getting back into heavily, as well as having the MetaZoo stuff going because I need to get money coming in. But I will say I am getting a little bit more commissions here and there, through online stuff. My last commission was a really fun one. It's going to help someone propose marriage to someone else. I'm not going to say on what it is or anything like that because, obviously that's more of like a private thing.
Sure.
But it was really fun to do, and I have to send that off today.
I've been seeing some really good work of yours on Instagram. Like I said, that's all I do now is Instagram. So
yeah,
I'm very, very attentive. I'm trying to figure out what Luna's talking about over here. So Luna, maybe a goal for you would be to just pull the table out of the garage. Sometimes we just need that first step. You know what I mean? And it's totally cool. I mean, I get that. Like, I think my goal for this week is to fix my emails. All of my emails are screwed up, and they have been since the new computer, which includes this one right here. And so I'm having a hard time reading any of my emails because they used to go to my Outlook. But GoDaddy, that's not one of GoDaddy's, and this is something you could listen to, Brent. That's not one of GoDaddy's top 10 best things is their email servers. Their email servers are a mess to connect to Outlook.
I'm not trying to jab at anyone who likes GoDaddy, but I concur your sentiments about GoDaddy.
I've had my sites on GoDaddy since 2005. So, we're going on 15 years with this company, and I feel like I could probably move all my sites over and probably be in a better position. But I mean, it's habit. It's nice to, and I hate this shadow that I'm in right now, right? I changed computers, and now my emails don't work. My Creative Cloud works periodically. There's a hesitation in Clip Studio. It's like all of those things were because we didn't do the actual driver for my video card. It was using the Intel driver on my video card, or the Microsoft driver for my video card. And all I needed to do was update the video driver. And now the computer works a whole lot better. But it took 2 weeks for me to find that out, because I had to try this, and I had to try that, and I had to try this, and I had to try that. And it wasn't until I realized that my video driver wasn't running an NVIDIA video driver. It was running a Microsoft video driver, that everything made some sense all of a sudden. Oh, okay. But, I hate that shadow. I hate the 3 weeks where nothing works properly and everything is sort of jinky. And so moving over all my sites will be the same thing. I'm going to have to dedicate the next 3 weeks after that to, oh, your email doesn't work properly. We're going to have to fix that. Oh, look, page 3 doesn't work on your main page. We're going to have to fix that. This one doesn't work, and your gallery is broken. And, it's like, it's that is what I hate the most out of everything. I used to be able to program in HTML a long time ago, and I can't anymore. And so now I have to rely on WordPress and making WordPress sites. And then I have to go in, and every so often my site's been hacked because WordPress is a weak link. And, it's like, I don't even need that much.
I am so happy that Bill does internet security stuff, because
you just on and off on him.
We'll log into some of our websites. Our websites are down right now. Our server crashed, so all of our websites are gone.
Oh, that's nice.
So we're slowly rebuilding, but I'll be realistic. It's yeah, I would log in, and then there would be 2,000 attempts on trying to break our website.
Right.
And
it's like trolls. It's the same thing. It's back to I have a job in this world to put out positivity on the internet. Let's just say that's what I've decided I'm going to do. Being an artist, I really should be spending all my time on art, and I'm not. I'm spending the 2 hours that I do on this show on art. Now, some of it is I'm dad, and I have to do dad stuff. Yeah. And so nothing we can do there. I've got to do dad stuff. And that's totally cool. Nothing wrong with that. I got to make lunch. I got to make dinner.
What about doodads isn't cool?
Right. Exactly. But I mean, that's the way that goes. And I get that. But I also spend way too much time fixing my website or figuring out bits and pieces for broadcasting, or figuring out how to do my little backwater way into Instagram, because Instagram won't let you post except by phone. And there's a lot of stuff that I fight with all the time. And I feel like it would be really nice. I've never really thought that I needed a secretary, but now I'm kind of like, gosh, it'd be nice to have a secretary, but the secretary, my secretary would have to be totally computer savvy. I'd probably have to hire a 15-year-old, because they're the only people on the planet that understand the internet. But I mean, it's maybe that's what I would draft my teenager for. That's what family's all about, is drafting your teenager.
I mean, if we had a crazy amount of money, I think both me and Bill would have secretaries ourselves. Or we would just hire someone to help us get all the websites up. We give them the pictures and the content, and then some people would call them website or graphic designers. I actually specifically would call them a website person.
Right. I mean, I really think that if I ever get to the point where I make enough money to afford an assistant, it would be an assistant. I mean, I'm saying secretary, but obviously assistant. It'd be a webmaster. Yeah, it'd be a webmaster. Something where, because really what I would love to have is, I have this with my website right now. I just don't activate it. But I've got a little app that runs on my WordPress. So when I make a blog post, it auto posts that out to all of my various social medias. Yep. But one, it costs me every year for it, and it costs me a pretty penny every year. 2, it doesn't differentiate. So like you need to have post to Instagram with no hashtags. So I have to post to Instagram, then go back in and edit the Instagram post, put in my hashtags. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this is so. Everything has this like, well, but one exception, you know.
Like,
And
because when I made posts through our websites, and it was through like a blog type deal, we figured out that you can add the hashtags to the post on your website, but like when I would repost, I would have to use those same hashtags in my post.
Right. Well,
So
that was the problem I was having was Instagram will take 30 hashtags, but Twitter won't.
No, Twitter only goes, I think, like 10.
Right. And it's not just that. It's like there are the rules to all of these things that are, you know, like, for example, you don't want to post 100 hashtags to Facebook. You know, even though Facebook will take 20 hashtags, it's inappropriate to do that. And so what I would love to have is an auto poster that posts to all of the different things, but you have a preset thing for each one. So like Instagram says, here are your presets. You can click which preset you want, because I actually have that. I have a text file. And in my text file, I have, if you're posting photography, and then I just copy those hashtags. If you're posting for Bellatrix Rising, copy. If you're posting for Tamerlane, copy. If you're so that all I do is copy the block of hashes in, right? Yeah. I would love an auto poster that just allows me to load hashtags in, and then you just click a button and it automatically populates those hashtags. And there you go. So, you know, you've got your Twitter hashtags and your Facebook hashtags and your Instagram hashtags and your other Instagram hashtags and your other Instagram hashtags, you know.
Well, and I also found out like some hashtags that are fine on my account for Instagram are not approved of on Facebook. And
right.
So when I try to look into it, like I guess someone had reported my Campfire Stories of Lake Kiki Poppy hashtag set. And so one of them is like basically will not appear on Facebook. So again, like I'm not on there right now. I deactivated. People can still reach me by Messenger if they really truly want to. But like,
but we definitely would have to have something that delineates.
Yeah, the ruling about it was a little bit weird because basically what it was CS of LK. That's what it was, and that one at a certain post it just was not showing up, and it was just the abbreviation. That's all it was. But someone had reported it, and like now I can't even get it. I can't even fight it. They're like, no.
Yeah.
And it's like,
but that's a different problem. But that's the biggest problem I'm having is there's no easy way, and I guess that's part of what being an artist is about. Except that I feel like I'm spending way too much time dealing with my social media and not enough time actually dealing with my comic.
See, and this
to get
is
the broadcast capabilities. That's why I love Restream.
Yeah,
is because Restream, I am now on Twitch, I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, and I'm even on Picardo, and I'm just broadcasting it. I don't have to worry about the going through and rebroadcasting, and so I've dedicated my time to backgrounds, like this background up here, and I've dedicated my time to overlays and opening and closing credits and things like that. And I can actually do that with Geek Tank as well. I can dedicate my time to building the assets instead of dedicating my time to making sure I have posted to everybody every day.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that if I had an assistant, that would be what my assistant would do, except that I feel like that could be automated if I could figure out a way to automate it, but I'm not a programmer. So, I mean, I used to be a programmer, but that was 100 million years ago. But I mean, this would be one of those things where I would write a Perl script or a JavaScript and just have its job be, a little front end where I just click the little tabs. Do you want to post these, your Facebook #1, click, and then Twitter #1, click, Instagram #1, 2, and 3, and then it would just populate everything. So then I could write, hey, cool picture of a cow, and then send. And when you'd see it on Instagram, it'd say, cool picture of a cow, #cow, #pig, and all the hashtags would be there. And then on Facebook, it'd say, cool picture of a cow, #I like to draw.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's like, I feel like that's the other thing. I feel like,
yeah,
Facebook's universe is you use hashtags as an ironic statement.
Yeah.
In Facebook, like they never got around to actually firing off the hashtags so that they worked like they did in Instagram. So people have used them ironically, So you're like, talking to Pepper about our plans. #I'll never get this plan done. #I don't think I'm going to complete my goals. You know what I mean? And it's like they use
get my goals done.
Right. And they use them as an ironic statement to the statement you just made in the post. And they don't use them like Instagram does, where you're going to search to find through the hashtags. Instead, they use the hashtags.
You can also
and I've noticed
follow hashtags on Instagram too.
Right. But if you do that with Instagram, you're going to gain people who will never finish their jobs. And that's not what you're after.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be those followers.
I want to reiterate something. I kind of miss the days where you work and work and work, and then you show your portfolio to an agent, and an agent basically finds you work and takes a cut of every job you get. And
that's what if there was a killer app.
Your social media now and a whole bunch of other stuff.
That's what the social media, that's what the app should be called. The killer app will be called Social Media Agent.
Yeah.
That's the killer app. And it just governs all of your social media for you.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the killer app. If we could figure out how to make that thing work, we'd make $1 billion off of all of this artists.
Hey Bill,
which couldn't
you hear that?
pay a buck.
No, what's that?
Yeah. Guy wants to make an app that will actually control all of your social media. So you put in your hashtags and everything that you actually want to use and all across your social media, because Instagram you get 30, Facebook you only get 20, Twitter has a different amount, so on and
they all have to be different.
And so basically you post through this app and it goes everywhere, and it has proper hashtagging, has proper everything, so that nothing gets flagged or deleted.
There's a bunch of those out there that are for pay. There's that one.
He wants to make a free one to undercut them all.
Right.
There is that free one that I talked to you about, but it's open source, but it requires you to set it up. And when I get time, I can work on that to make it easy to deploy, but I just need time.
That's all good, man. I appreciate the fact that you're even processing it. Yeah.
He's actually at work, folks. I'm interrupting his workday with this. So
yeah, well, it's not as important, I think, to interrupt his workday. We can chat about it. Yeah, that's the thing. Luna's saying she knows of a tool. So it's kind of like Hootsuite will do it, but Hootsuite keeps saying published by Hootsuite.
Yeah, they don't have an option to take it off.
And what I have learned by being out there is people don't like it when you've been auto-posted. They feel like you're spamming.
Yeah.
So they don't like auto-posters. So you're not supposed to mention the auto-posters. The auto-posters are Fight Club. Right?
Well,
if you're using an auto-poster,
if we could make a free one that didn't have like any type of branding or anything like that, and it was just like we sent it to people who were asking for it, and like we didn't put it on an app or anything like that, like an app store or something. I think like just having it on its own website, I think would be okay. The problem is maintaining it is going to be where we start seeing like maybe we should start charging for this.
Right. I mean, that's one of those things. Well, and that's
Luna's right. You do get what you pay for when it's free.
Media manager. Oh, hey, there is open source social media management.
Yep.
And the first thing on here is Adobe, and then Hootsuite, and then Human Design. I mean, like all of these are pay for. That's not exactly what we were like here. Oh, there is Socioboard, which sounds kind of like sociopath. Right?
Now we're starting to understand social media.
Well, we did start out this show with that. So there is that.
Well, we started out the show with trolls. One, asking us to do some very naughty acts upon them by you, Guy, not me. But
I know. You. Well, I find that funnier. I found that a whole lot funnier. Because that's never been something I've ever had to actually deal with. The funny part about the whole thing was I was harking back to my mom, who in the 80s would get those calls because she was out there. And, so she would get all these calls, and she got to the point where she was verbally judoing them all the time. And it would be the weirdest thing because my mom would answer the phone and she'd get this quizzical look for a second. Then she'd say something that was so weird and out of the blue, and then she'd hang up. And I was like, I don't know what the heck that was, but her name and phone number were in the phone book as a business and stuff like that. And so men would call her all the time because they knew she was a woman, and she had even said this. She said, they're just trying to get my goat, and I'm not going to let them. And I remember Mom saying that. So that's really what these two were doing in here. They're just trying to get our goat. So I'm like, it's all good.
Yeah. I met a few people in my life. A lot of them, female masseuses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they would get clients that call, like potential clients that call them. And some of the funniest stories that they ever told me were ones where they set it all up, and then at the end they go, "Do you do happy endings?"
Right. And it's the same thing.
And she's like, "No, and your appointment's canceled now."
Right. And that was, and it wasn't that mom actually derived a certain amount of entertainment out of verbally judoing them, because she could have just said, I'm not talking to you, and hung up, but she felt like that was giving in. You know what I mean? Like they would feel like she was mad and they got her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so she worked really hard to say like all kinds of things. And I don't remember all of them, and it's a shame. But they would say, but they were saying similar things to what was going on in our chat room over on Twitch. And she would say some really mean things. Cause they would say things like, can you take 7 inches? And she's like, I don't even go anything shorter than 9, and then hang up on them and stuff like that. And she would just snap them, and it was so funny. But that, as a kid, all I'd get is she'd answer the phone. I don't go anything shorter than 9, and then hang up, and I wouldn't know what that meant because it was one side of the conversation, right?
Well, that, and you're also a kid, so
I'm a kid. I had no idea what that meant. And so I had no idea what was going on. And then later, when I was older, she would tell me what they were saying. And I'd be like, because of course her whole point was never do this.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. And all you're really doing is calling somebody's mom. It was like, that was a little disturbing to me. It was like, wait, they were doing this to my mom? As a teenage boy, I'm like, ugh. That's my mom, man. Ugh.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I was growing up, like people would sit there and make comments like, "Oh, your parents look like super young," and I'm like, "My dad was 19 when my sister was born. My mom was 21."
So they were super young.
So they were young, but then like at a certain point, like it's like, yeah, it's just my entire family. I just started going,
It is what
yeah,
it
it's
is.
my entire family. We all look young.
Yeah,
They're
you
like,
all look. You've made that comment before. It's the reason why you keep growing a beard is because when you don't, you look like you're, 12. And I don't know if I agree or not.
Hold on, wait. I have to actually tell you something because this actually happened not that long ago.
Right.
I shaved my face and I went down to Colorado Springs and I met up with my cousin and she's like, "You look like you're still you look like you were in high school." And I'm like, yeah, the only thing that's different is I'm 8 inches taller.
Right. Well, and that's the same with me. When I shave this off, I look like a 12-year-old with gray hair. And it's just weird. And so I'm like, So I keep it's so funny. My wife was like, she's not a beard person. She doesn't like beards. She doesn't like mustaches. And so I didn't want to, when I went to Japan, I waited until she came back to the US to visit her family for a month over summer break to grow my beard out. And when I did, she came back and she went, "No, actually, you need to keep that." And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but I'm kind of worried here." Then I'm like, "I know you don't like beards, but I think it looks kind of good." And she's like, No, you need to keep that. You look older now." I'm like, Wait a minute. What is that supposed to mean?
Well, I mean, and I'm not trying to say like, clean faces are like bad or anything. Like there are some people who can pull it off and they look their age.
And they look fine and they look rugged and chiseled and wonderful and all that stuff.
Great.
And I look like I'm 12 with gray hair.
Yeah.
And that's what pretty much happens.
Yeah, that's
I'm looking forward to looking rugged and chiseled someday. I just not really looking rugged and chiseled now.
My dad is in his 60s, like just hit his 60s, so he's like not that far in. And honestly, he shaves his face, he looks like he's 40.
Right?
Maybe
when I'm 70, I'll be like, I kind of like looking like I'm 40. My dad's 78 this year, and he looks pretty awesome, but he's always looked Luna, I'm voting for you, Luna. You just keep growing that beard. You work on it, man. You just keep working on it.
You know what, Luna? Great. That is awesome. I know a few people who've gone all the way with it and they love it.
Right?
Yeah.
All the way with a beard.
All the way with a beard. All the way.
So, anyway.
I've befriended a lot of circus performers as well, folks.
So there's that. Okay, Pepper, what's your goal? We caught you halfway through your goal, and then
I'm just gonna try to work on a workflow that makes sense. Try to get it so that I'm touching base on all the projects I need to complete. I'm gonna try to do that for this week. And then do some more on Lake Kiki Poppy because I need to get that done. So I'm still trying to figure out on how to do. I can do up to the first 6 pages of what I'm working on right now. through one of these streams, so I need to figure out on how to do that through my iPad so that I can actually show you what I'm doing in Procreate to actually get the effects and lighting and all of that stuff.
That works.
So
That works. I'm going to go on ahead and just get my emails fixed and call that a win. Then I'm going to go for 1,500 words a night and just try to keep that going as a rhythm. If I can get my kid to go to bed at a reasonable hour, I should be able to get 5 nights at 1,500, and that would be good. Because that would put me at 7,000 words total per week. And that's a good solid. I am looking to see if I can't hit 50K with this backstory book. Then it's a novella, it's a light novel, and that would be useful. And it'd be something that I could put out to my patrons as something.
Also publish it through Amazon by self-publish.
I could self-publish it. There will be a lot of things that'll be. I think what I would do is put these backstories out for the patrons to give them something to look forward to while I'm still building up the rest of the scripts and things like that for Bellatrix Rising. And then once Bellatrix Rising has been released and the whole run is out there, it can come out as a supplemental book because it's not necessary for the story. And it takes place, 20 years prior to the comics. So it's, it'll be kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah. Goal in song.
I saw a table leg and I want to paint it black or other colors.
And many other colors. Oh, okay. Yes, please do, Luna. Please do.
Luna, table leg. There we go. So Luna's on the list now. Anybody else want to join us? Do you want to put a goal in, Brent? Because you could, if you wanted. That'd be fine.
To be the ultimate webmaster.
I noticed that our trolls gave up. I only silenced them for like 10 minutes, but they never came
Don't take
back.
this the wrong way. Trolls are usually pretty weak.
Yep. Well, it's the
They can
web
push it, but they
equivalent of
can't take
bullies.
it.
Yeah, it's the web equivalent of bullies, and frankly, I've dealt with bullies all my life, so not a big deal. I'm a geek. Like all of us geeks, we suffer from bullies.
Dude, I classify myself more as a nerd. The only thing different is because of a
You can
pocket
classify
protector.
yourself that if you want. I'm just
Pocket
saying.
protector. I own them. I owned them as a kid.
I have a slide rule. It's in a box, but I have a slide rule. Mostly because I am so bad at math, I can't even use a slide rule to do math. That's how bad at math I am.
Oh,
Okay.
I have forgotten how to use one of those too. So like, I
have
can't
to-
like. I'll look at them and I'll try, and I'm just like, I forget.
Yep. So I totally gave the bully trolls the hand and the boot, and then she says, I win for the day. I think the funny part is I put a Marine sentry in there. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And then that was cool. And I even like the fact that they were sitting there saying things like, no, Brent, don't do it. And stuff like that I silenced them. And then they came back.
We'll be nice. We'll be nice.
But it put a sword in his hand. It's got a little icon of a sword in there. And I'm like, yep. I put Marine in there, man. Don't think I'm not going to. You want this done, do it right. That's what you do.
I just have no patience for that type of behavior at all. I just no patience for it. It was like
that was pretty brutal too. It was a pretty serious trolling right off the bat. It took me way too long to find all the buttons to silence them.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So if we want to wrap it up, that's great. We can wrap it up on that note. We won for the day because we won against trolls.
Look at us win. Look at us win.
Yes,
Well,
Luna,
it is-
I completely agree with you. We won against those trolls.
Yeah, we won against the trolls. They're bullies. Bullies are not really. Oh, there's an auto mod. We've got an auto mod in here. Check us out, Brent. We got an auto mod. I don't even know what that does. I don't even know what that does. Oh, hey, I've got it. What's this coffee with guy that has like a podcast's picture? Oh, yeah, because it says live shows and podcasts. So we're actually out on the main page somewhere, which is cool.
No, cool.
It says English and in real life. I wonder what else I could do in here.
English and in real life? What is there a difference
right?
between English and real life? Is real life like your alphabet for Bellatrix Rising?
Right? Well, and
Are we part of a
Okay.
simulation? Are we in the Matrix?
is this real life?
Did we take red pills or blue pills this morning?
Yep. So I actually,
I'll put my glasses back.
I'm
I'll put
looking
my
in here
eyes
and I'm like, there's all
back.
kinds of stuff that I can select. Who knew? I can add like different tags to this. There's all kinds of things I didn't know I had control over. So, wow, I'm like, we're going to have to go in here and dink with this thing a lot now that we've figured out everything. Like, oh, look at us finding channel tools. Nope, it's just a fantasy.
Yes.
It's just a fantasy. Oh, no. Well, we're probably going to break our show a little early, I think, tonight.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna head out. And is this important enough to interrupt the show?
No.
Then don't.
Okay.
You can get chased by a cat, which is what he just did. I noticed that George came in, and then he came in, and then he left, and then George left. So, a boy and his cat. There's that. Can't ever change that part of the life. So,
Well,
anyway.
I mean, it's kind of like if you guys got the black cat and then you found a white cat.
It'd be Luna and Artemis.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I think that we've done well. Brent, thank you again, my friend, for
Yes.
going in there and wielding the sword wielding. And he did.
You just need to get an emoticon for the Thundercats sword
That'd be awesome.
Rhino has for Brent now.
Thundercats.
Or He-Man's sword from the original He-Man in the Masters of the Universe.
Right?
The
Well, and that's
comic
the
book.
thing.
Not the comic book is what I mean. The one that basically combines with Skeletor's sword,
Sword,
which is black, and
two
He-Man's
halves go
sword
together.
is light, and then they go together, and that's what opens Grayskull.
Yep. There's like all these people. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Either way, Brent, thank you for going in there and getting the green sword and
Thank you.
sorting. And you earned the Thundercat sword, definitely. The Sword of Omens.
Yes.
That's definitely one that you earned. I never really liked He-Man's sword, though. He-Man's sword was not as cool as the Sword of Omens.
Okay, so I just want to point this out that He-Man had
You're
sort
like,
of
we'll fight about
power.
this.
Sort of power. It was very limited
It
in
was.
what it could and couldn't do. She-Ra
Well-
had a sword of knowledge.
Right.
In which case, that is why she knew everything that the sword could do and everything she could do. And
Right.
people forget this.
What gets me is that I noticed that a lot of He-Man is a lot of ultimatum language.
Yeah.
I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. How did you get punched last episode then?
Yeah, right?
I mean, if you're the most powerful man in the universe, Why is Skeletor a threat?
Yeah.
It's like you people.
Well, it's kind of like even like everyone's like, well, no, she has a sword of honor, and I'm like, no, it's a sword of knowledge because you honor knowledge, and you just use brute strength for power. So of course he's gonna say he has the power,
Right.
Yeah. Skeletor, by the way, folks, people don't realize this, but in the original comics that came with the action figures, Skeletor had a sword.
Yep. Which was blue.
Yes, sometimes blue, sometimes black. It just depended, but it was his sword, his version of He-Man's sword. It actually fit.
And they snapped together.
And it snapped together. He-Man's sword was a one-sided blade.
Mm-hmm.
And
which was actually kind of interesting because I had a buddy in the 80s who had both action figures. And so I remember snapping those together and going, well,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the thing is in the comics, they had to put them back to back and combine the swords to open Castle Grayskull originally. And everyone's like, that didn't happen. And I'm like, no, you're remembering the 80s cartoons, not the comics that came with the things, because if you actually go by the figures, Teela actually had a snake headdress.
Mm-hmm.
Like legit snake headdress. So
yeah. But it has the new She-Ra does make them more limited and more human. But it has a great story. Yeah, actually, She-Ra is one of my son's favorite shows right now.
It's a multi-million-dollar fanfic. It's a multi-million-dollar fanfic.
It really is, but he loves it.
I mean, it's a good show, but like I honestly, if I show it to my kids, it's going to be one of those ones where they get shown it when they're a bit older, and they understand that some relationship dynamics that are in the show are not healthy.
Yeah, I'm kind of that opinion as well.
It makes good TV and it makes good storytelling. I understand that, but there's some things.
You're just saying.
It is an awesome fanfic.
It's an awesome fanfic. Yep.
Yep.
I've never really felt that way about any other like Star Trek. Like I don't feel like Discovery's fanfic or anything like that. There's definite. I mean, like Tamerlane's fanfic. Let's be realistic here. I wrote fanfic.
Yeah.
You know what's the best Star Trek fanfic though? Orville.
Yeah.
I love Orville to the end of the earth.
Orville also has elements of Star Wars in it, and has elements of Babylon 5.
You can totally tell.
And it has elements of Firefly. It has a bunch of different moving parts, and the thing about the Orville that I like the most is the fact is they took Worf, the Klingons, and turned them into like this race that basically does forced gender change.
Yes,
to make every single.
That was kind of wild. Yeah, definitely, Luna.
Some Black Mirror going on in it as well. I mean,
I
really did like the social
an episode of Black Mirror and Orville that are the same. In Orville, it's called Majority Rules, but there was a Black Mirror episode that did almost the same thing.
Yeah, no,
they were done congruently. They happened at the same time. So that was an Edison Tesla moment.
Yeah,
where the thing was invented at the same time because we hit that same question in our culture. I mean, everybody was asking that. Majority Rules is one of the ones that I feel is terrifying to watch because that's
Didn't they also do that? Like not recently, but there was a Star Trek episode that kind of had the same mentality.
Concept?
Yeah.
It was headed the same question. It was headed for the same question, but it's really funny to think about this because Star Trek is very ahead of its time, but a lot of the things that happen in Star Trek happened, we got to remember Star Trek was in the 90s, early 90s. Internet was
Well, we're talking about
barely
Next Generation in the 90s.
Yeah, even the Next Gen went from 87 to 92.
Yeah.
So, but I started complaining about Star Trek on the internet at the end of Next Gen's run. And I was doing it in Usenet.
Yeah.
So the truth of the matter is there's no way they could have ever, except for the fact that they were foreseeing stuff, there was no way for them to have actually come up with majority rules as far as that goes, because we didn't have upvotes back in the day. Now we upvote everything and we like stuff. Heck, the Korean pop group Twice made a song about liking everything. It's actually a horribly, horribly addictive earworm, and I love it a lot because I love Twice, but that's me.
I will be realistic.
Zoo episode is really good too.
I think every single sci-fi show has always done a zoo episode, and I will tell you, even cartoons back in the 80s and 90s had a zoo episode if there was teenagers or kids involved. The reason for that episode is very primal. The thing is like there's always this thing about people like hating on zoos and stuff like that, but those yeah.
Thanks, Luna.
Guys Coffee Hour. That hey, maybe for me being on it, I get some more upvotes too.
Yeah, and Pepper gets upvotes for being Pepper.
Yeah, but I agree.
Zoos. I agree. We've always had a zoo episode. The thing I loved about Orville was they spent the zoo episode pretty much exploring the relationship between the ex-husband and the ex-wife, which I thought was a fascinating twist to the zoo episode.
Well, and the thing is they were put in the zoo episode right as they were starting to mend and possibly get back together. And then that zoo episode kind of confined them together 100% of the time. And what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of people are going through this right now with COVID, the quarantines, is there are people who are now starting to go, I want a divorce. I want this. I have spent so much time with you, I can't stand you anymore. And that is proving that their relationships weren't as strong as they initially thought. And it's also there's also other growing concerns with confining human beings to the point of where we're at right now is unhealthy.
Definitely scary. Yeah.
Because mentally, as much as we want to say we're not like animals, we, to a core, are related to a very social, structured animal, such as, monkeys and apes.
Right.
And these are very social creatures.
Although that is what I find interesting is I always thought that my wife and I were not as strong of a relationship. However, we have been weathering COVID rather well, and other people are breaking down. And in fact, we're stronger than we were prior to COVID. We're really actually we turn out to be a great team, and I wouldn't have expected that. If you had talked to me 15 years ago when our relationship started, I would have said, if you'd said, "Oh, imagine being stuck with her for a year and not being able to go anywhere," I'd be like, I don't know if that'll work because we fight a lot. And and it was like, and now, we don't fight. We don't argue. We argue, but we don't fight or anything like that. We stopped fighting years ago. We just hit a synchronicity. Yeah, and I'm fascinated that happened. Who knew?
Yeah. Try going through an adoption process during.
I was going to say, you guys are going through all of the stressors, though. This would be like if we'd had our baby back then.
Yeah,
I don't know how well we would have done stuck in here with a baby.
Right.
Being here with a 10-year-old has been fine because he's old enough to reason with. We can talk to him. We can explain things to him. Stuff like that. But boy, a baby. We actually legitimately sat down and said, "Are we sure we want to bring a kitten into this house right now?" because we're all stuck here. And if the kitten goes crazy, you're stuck with crazy kitten. And that's the way it goes.
Also,
And
the
you're
fact that you have an older cat, if the older cat doesn't get along, how are you going to handle?
You're stuck with the older cat fighting with the younger cat.
Yeah.
Although during our show here, I saw her walk out and walk across the room to the kitty litter. So the older cat is not ecstatic about the kitten. She doesn't like the kitten, but I saw the kitten go under the couch 3 or 4 times today, and I did not hear hissing and fighting. So I'm guessing things are going acceptable. I will be happy if the older cat and the kitten tolerate each other. That would be totally acceptable to me. She doesn't have to like him. They don't have to be best friends. They just have to not. She has to not be under the bed pooping. Is really what I'm.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. So
yeah, we towards the end, Nacho was not allowed in our room. So we have definitely gone over where we said we wanted to actually end the show already.
in the show, it's because you and I are buddies, and we will talk forever.
Yeah. So
That's really what it boils down to.
yeah, it's called seeing one another.
I think it's really funny is totally this relationship between you and me is based solely on this show starting out that way, because it was, hey, you want to do an artist check-in? I'm like, yeah, Pepper, whoever you are, that's totally cool, because I didn't know you from Adam back then. Yeah. But now, like, we're real buddies now. We actually like have evolved this friendship. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. I think that's nifty. It's not one of those social media isn't all bad moments.
Well, and also, like, people don't realize is we actually met through Red Team Go.
Yep.
And my husband actually knew of the group, the Star Trek group.
Yep.
Through the convention scene.
Right.
So, I mean, like, there's some things that elements that we knew
completely out of the blue. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we both travel in the same circles. We both had the same, friends. But the thing that I like about this is I knew of you. You knew of me. We were acquaintances and stuff like that. But then you decided to do an artist check-in with me, and you're like, hey, you want to try this? And I'm like, yeah, I'll give anything a try. Yeah. Because I was having a hard time making it to the next goalpost for me. So I was like, oh, artist check-in sounds great. And we evolved a friendship out of that. And I think that's just really cool, personally. I just think that's nifty.
And I just enjoy the fact that we both razz on Raph because he was supposed to be here.
Right? Because he's never here. That one's the best part of the whole thing.
That I wasn't even able to make it. So
I know. Well, you'll notice I have built 2 little squares with these yellow rings around them, but I don't have a 3-square one because Raph's never shown up for me to be able to screen capture it so I can build it in Photoshop. He doesn't show up, so there's that.
The majestic Bill has launched himself over.
I know. I was like, that was like a whale birthing or something. Fish.
It would have been funny if you tossed water over at me. That would have been
right.
hilarious.
That'd be the best part. That's why you don't let me do things like that, because I would. I'd be like, sploosh. Oh, is that you that I sprayed water on? I'm sorry. I breached.
Well, on that note, my body is indicating I need to eat something.
Me too.
So
we will see you all later. I will see you next week, and I will see everyone else out there. Have a wonderful weekend, and keep looking at the stars. Good night.
So by the way,
wait, what?
Nope, never mind. I'll talk to you in a bit.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.